Good evening and welcome to the February 18th, 2025 regular session of Findlay City Council. We will start this evening's meeting with the roll call followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
Mr. Ballman?
Here.
Mr. DeArmond?
Here.
Ms. Frischi?
Here.
Mr. Greeno?
Here.
Mr. Hellman?
Here.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Here.
Mr. Palmer?
Here.
Mr. Russell?
Here.
Ms. Warnicki? And Mr. Wopser.
Present.
Beth Warnicki informed me earlier today that she's caught the bug that's going around that we probably have all had at one point in time. Mr. Russell?
Move to excuse.
Second, Mr. Greeno. All those in favor of excusing Ms. Warnicki, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. She is excused. Will you please stand for a Pledge of Allegiance? We'll follow that with a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will entertain a motion to approve the previous city council minutes. Mr. Baumann. Second, Mr. DeArmond. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. They are approved. Mr. Russell, do we have any add-ons, replacements, or removals from tonight's agenda?
Yes, sir. We have a letter from HRPC Grant Administrator Penzinski concerning 2025-1015. That's the HUD-funded legislation, and move that be added on to the appropriate place in the agenda.
Second, Mr. Hellman. All those in favor of adding that to tonight's agenda say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. It is added. We do not have any proclamations. We do have a resolution this evening.
All right, well, I get the pleasure of reading the resolution. I'm going to apologize in advance because I have a lot of names that I have to read. I will try not to botch a lot of them. A resolution commending the Flag City Phantoms football team for its successful 2024 semi-pro football season, culminating as the United States Football Association 2A Orange Blossom Bowl national champions. Whereas the Flag City Phantoms semi-pro football team, previously known as the Findlay Knights until 2022, was founded and owned by Kenneth Keith and Lori Fairbanks in 2019 before transferring ownership to Aaron Sanders and Desiree Passmore, and was coached by head coach Mark Garcia before Demir Relford took over the position, along with defensive coordinator Michael Jimenez, special teams coordinator Anson Brown, defensive coordinator Chris Williamson, assistant coaches Scott McNett and Mark Garcia, director of daily operations Austin Lemley, and videographer Dustin Bates, who ended their 2024 football season with a 12-5 record in the Professional Football Association League. And whereas the Flag City Phantoms football team consists of Cameron Aaron Sr., Rodney Banks, Eric Baptiste, Colin Bradley, Cody Brown, Terrence Brown, Tikhijian Brown, Vasian Brown, Jason Burling, Antez Butcher, Tay Clark, Courtney Cole Sr., Jaden Covington, Ryan Douglas, Taylor Dryden, Davin Harmon, Jeremy Fennell, Josh Fennell, Austin Gann, Granon Garcia, Marquise Graham, Trey Graves, Jammer Griffin, Andonis Harp, Arvil Harrison, Joe Haynes, William Hopkins Jr., Cavante Henderson, Roderick Hurry, Mickey Jimenez, McKinley Jr. I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Mickey Jimenez, Benjamin Kershaw, Donovan Larrabee, Chris Lee, Michelson Lowell, Mickey Love, Ty Manning, Hunton Markelis, R.J. McKinley Jr., Donald Morangelo, Tanaji Moore, Shandon Morris, Monty Morrison, Javon Phillips Sr., Brian Pinkey, David Powell, Tashawn Rogers, Aaron Sanders, we're getting closer, Jarrett Sitton, Patrick Spearman, Ethan Stafford, Kyle Stuckey, Maurice Suggs Jr., Jaden Thomas Jr., Madison Tony, Malik Tucker, Dan Vaughn, Josh Wally, Tyrone Walker, and Brendan Vielhalter concluded their season as runners-up in the PFA League, They were invited to 2 bowl games. Then, Jim McNutt and the National Football Events Bowl System invited the Phantoms to play in the National Championship National Football Events Series game in Almonte Springs, Florida, where they defeated the West Virginia Leviathan football team on January 19th, 2025, with a score of 27-0 at the Lake Brantley High School Stadium and the USFA 2A Orange Bowl Blossom National Championship game. And whereas the Flag City Phantoms football team captured their first national championship in the league's history with their recent national championship last year, capturing titles of Most Valuable Players, Braden Wheelholter, Special Teams, Jaden Covington, Defense and Special Teams, and co-offensive Most Valuable Players, Donovan Larrabee and Shandon Morris. And whereas the Flag City Phantom football team has brought honor, glory, and recognition to their city as well as to Hancock County and Findlay, Ohio. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Findlay, State of Ohio, that the Council of the City of Findlay, Ohio extends its congratulations to the Flag City Phantoms football team for their winning season, culminating in the national championship, and that this council wishes to express its congratulations on behalf of the citizens of this city for the outstanding season the Phantoms have achieved, as well as the United States Football Association 2A Orange Blossom Bowl National Championship, bringing recognition to their team, as well as Hancock County and the City of Findlay. This resolution shall take and be in effect in force from and after the earliest period provided by law. I know we have some representatives here, clearly not all 45 of them. We did sign resolutions for all of them, so I will welcome the different players, if you would come forward, and we'll present the resolution.
Bring up that big trophy, too.
Oh, somebody went.
Just like practice, a little late.
One, two, three. Let me just do one more. Thank you.
I will now entertain a motion to approve the resolution. Mr. Palmer, second Mr. Hellman. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Congratulations, guys. Keep up the good work. I look forward to seeing you guys next season. All those in favor, all those in favor of the resolution say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond? Ms. Frischi?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
And Ms. Warnicki? Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted. Petitions.
A petition for annexation from Greenbrier Holdings Ltd. and Malware Rentals LLC for South Main Street for 9.166 acres, currently in the Liberty Township.
Resolution has been created for this. We have one oral communication for the end of the meeting. We have no written communications. We have no utility or contractor communications, reports of municipal officers and departments.
Findlay Police Department Activities Report for January 2025.
Report to be filed.
Findlay Fire Department Activities Report for January 2025.
Report to be filed.
City Income Tax Monthly Collections Report for January 2025.
Report to be filed.
Findlay Municipal Court Activities Report for January 2025.
Report to be filed.
City Planning Commission Agenda for February 13th, as well as a staff report for February 13th, 2025, and the minutes of January 9th, 2025.
Report, staff report, and minutes to be filed.
Treasurer's Reconciliation Report for January 31st, 2025.
Report to be filed.
Letter from Service Safety Director Martin regarding annual Community Park Improvement Program grant.
Report to be filed, or letter to be filed, I'm sorry.
Letter from City Engineer Calb regarding Street Department roll-off truck.
Letter be filed.
Summary financial reports for January 31st, 2025.
Mr. DeArmond.
I see the auditor's not here this evening, but I just had a comment on the cash and investments report. So I've had ongoing questions with the auditor about our investments and reporting the earnings. And so he recently sent me an email. And I assume he's going to listen to this, but so in the email, he says, I will wait for City Council's next governing board meeting so a proper, complete discussion can be had. So I think he's referring to the appropriations meeting. So Chairman Wobser, I guess if we're going to have a meeting for the capital improvement at some point, maybe we could add this to that agenda.
We could.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for now.
But will you?
Could or
yeah.
will?
We'll take it under advisement.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Letter be filed.
Letter from Acting Director of Law Feigner regarding public spending for ordinance 2025-25.
Letter be filed.
Letter from Mayor Mern regarding county agreements.
Letter be filed.
Add-on letter from Hancock Regional Planning Commission Grant Administrator Paninsky regarding execution of amendment to programmatic agreement for HUD-funded programs.
Letter be filed. Committee reports, we have none. Legislation, we'll start with the resolutions.
Second reading for Resolution 5, 2025, a resolution stating what services the City of Findlay, Ohio will provide to the territory proposed to be annexed to the City of Findlay, Ohio, situated in Allen Township, County of Hancock, State of Ohio, and being part of the west half of the southeast fourth of Section 35, Township 2 North, Range 10 East, a tract of land consisting of 37.906 acres of land, more or less, hereinafter referred to as the Keller Seifert Enterprises, LLC et al. Annexation. Second reading for Resolution 6, 2025, a resolution stating what services the City of Findlay, Ohio will provide to the territory proposed to be annexed to the City of Findlay, Ohio, situated in Liberty Township, County of Hancock, State of Ohio, and being part of the southwest quarter of Section 1, Township 1 North, Range 10 East, a tract of land consisting of 7.883 acres of land, more or less, hereinafter referred to as the Northtown Condominium Villas Annexation. First reading for Resolution 9, 2025, a resolution, Mayor did that one.
Yep.
Let's try again. First reading for Resolution 10, 2025, a resolution stating what services the City of Findlay, Ohio will provide to the territory proposed to be annexed to the City of Findlay, Ohio, situated in Liberty Township, County of Hancock, State of Ohio, and being part of the northeast quarter of Section 36, Township 1 North, Range 10 East, a tract of land consisting of 9.166 acres of land, more or less, hereinafter referred to as the Greenbrier Holdings Ltd. And Mauer Rentals LLC, also South Main Street Annexation.
Ordinances.
Third reading for ordinance 2025-6, an ordinance appropriating funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Palmer.
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2025-006.
Second, Mr. Greeno. Discussion. Ms. Frischie.
When we had the first reading on this, I asked why the committee did not get an MOU or anything clarified. I know Councilman DeArmond kind of seemed to be thinking that was a logical statement, but we have nothing other than emails back and forth on this 200,000. Have we gotten anything formally that they are going to go through with that funding when they get their next appropriation for the Spring Lake project?
Mayor.
We did not enter into an agreement, but they have multiple times on the record stated to us that they are working to get the As soon as the state appropriation occurs, we'll move forward with this project, just as they have been doing for the past 4 years, in which they did not have any formal agreement with us at that time either. So we continue to have a strong relation with the Ohio EPA, and they understand that they're not going to have an operator if they don't fulfill this obligation. And so we're confident that they're going to hold up their end of the bargain.
Ms. Frischi?
I thought the original agreement was that 3 million that we were working through. This is additional 200,000 above and beyond. So although I want to see this moving forward, just because there's not even an MOU for this additional above and beyond, I cannot support it at this time. Thank you, though.
All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frischi?
Dang.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
And Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Third reading for ordinance 2025-7, an ordinance authorizing the mayor, service safety director, and/or city engineer of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to enter into contracts for construction of various projects in accordance with previous capital plans, appropriating and transferring funds for said expenditures, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Palmer?
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2025-007.
Second, Mr. Baumann. Discussion? Ms. Frischi?
So we got an email from Jeremy this morning regarding ordinance 07. None of these things went back to appropriations or committee for further discussion, and we still don't have our capital planning out there. You know, I understand the LED replacement phase 2 lighting. I also understand that we're in deficit spend, and I don't know if LED light phase 2 is a priority. Number 2 was the GIS system functionality for an additional 20,000, but it sounds like we're adding new things in there. I would have asked Jeremy tonight, so I guess Rob, non-law director, safety service director Rob, the question on the GIS system. I know we've been continuing to improve our mapping and so forth over the years. I thought we were kind of there, but it sounds like we're adding in, as part of the growth, he says that we're adding in GPS location of all water transmitters will be placed as an additional note. And then they also talk about the growth of the system with traffic signals, roadway signs, trusses, park amenities, and information. Are those things that we need to be doing, or do we already have that? Like, don't we already know where our street signs are? Don't we?
Mr. Martin?
My understanding of this is with this, as they continue to evolve, Strand's the contractor that continues to input this data, having it in the system the way they're putting it in will bring it current, and it keeps evolving as the engineers or the people from Strand actually are inputting the data, that they can do it much cheaper than us hiring someone to actually manage it internally. The goal is to get this to a baseline, our GIS system, because we have primitive stuff that we're upgrading, having the experts input the data to the point where it's at a baseline where we can then hire someone in the future to actually manage our GIS system internally. So this is additional dollars, but this is for us to get our system to a baseline where we can actually use it to the capacity we need to.
So,
Mayor?
I would just add, as you recall, in the last 3 years, when we've had the capital plan meeting, in each of the project sheet, it outlines the projects that are multi-year projects. This is one of them. That's why we're bringing it forward, because it's something that we had been preparing for and planning on.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It was getting a little distracting.
Trying to turn it down. And it's
So
not.
these are
There we
projects
go.
that's why we have moved forward with them, regardless of the fact that we haven't had the capital planning meeting. We are in conversations with the members of appropriations to try to nail down a meeting in the near future for the capital plan. But we are in the final revision phases of that and should have something for discussion in the near future. But none of the projects that are before you in this are new projects. They are multi-year ongoing projects that had been previously planned.
Sorry, Ms. Frischi?
So I do understand that we do the GIS system, but we're adding in additional to the scope. And I guess when I look at it, I'm like, the transmitters for the water, don't we know where those are at? That we can just tell the system, we placed at each property, we did this, we did that they don't have to go hunt for them. And then, you know, adding in past the water and the sewer lines and, you know, the utilities, I'm just trying to understand the additional 20,000. I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing GIS, but these things have not been discussed more than an ordinance coming to council, FYI, informing us to pass it. So I was just looking for better communication.
Mayor?
And I would just add, again, what we're paying for is their effort and their special knowledge in the ability to enter it. And so, yes, we can give them the data of here are where all of our systems are located, but you still have to have someone that enters that data, validates it. And one of the things that we continue to find is that we have very outdated information. And so when we're going to do some of these big projects, we're finding utilities, not necessarily the city's utilities, but other utilities that are 150 feet from where they're supposed to be. And so this is one of those systems that's important for any future development, future maintenance. It is a robust system. What you're paying for, yes, they're going to be doing some of that additional functionality, but it is also, again, a multi-year project that we knew we were going to need to be paying for it. So it's continuing, not just adding new things, but continuing the work that they've been doing. So.
All those in favor of the ordinance say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
And Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted. I apologize to everybody about my phone. I've had it on what I thought was, and when you get to my age, things happen like that, so thank you.
Third reading for ordinance 2025-008, an ordinance appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Baumann,
Move for adoption of ordinance number 2025-008.
second Mr. Hellman. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman? Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
And Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Second reading for ordinance 2025-13, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to enter into a renewal agreement including updated provisions with the Findlay YMCA to operate the Riverside Swimming Pool facility and associated YMCA programs for public and recreational use for the city of Findlay for the 2025 to 2027 seasons and declaring an emergency. Second reading for ordinance.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wobser, you had your hand up, but then you
No.
put it down.
I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. All right, next.
Second reading for ordinance 2024-14. Do you want me to say it now? You can read it and then we'll discuss. An ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Hancock County Public Health to provide backflow testing and repair of all city-owned facilities and declaring an emergency.
I just
Law
want,
Director, please.
Yep, thank you. I just wanted to mention on this, it was brought to my attention that the proper name for the Hancock County Public Health is Hancock Public Health. That extra word county being in there, which I guess is the way it used to be, being clerical or just a mistake, will be fixed for the final and third reading of that, and that shouldn't require any motion to amend or anything of that nature, but that will be changed for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Second reading for, did you have? Second reading for ordinance 2025-15, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Findlay, Ohio, to enter into a programmatic agreement with the Ohio State Historic Preservation Office for housing and urban development, HUD-funded programs, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Russell.
For the reasons stated in the add-on letter, which is that this has a March 1 deadline, I move that council statutory rules be suspended and ordinance 2025-015 be given its third reading.
Second, Mr. Baumann. All those in favor of suspension of the rules, say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer.
Aye.
Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye.
Mr. Wobser.
Aye.
Mr. Ballman.
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond.
Aye.
Ms. Frishy.
Aye.
And Mr. Greeno.
Aye.
Rules of council have been suspended, and the clerk will give this ordinance its third reading.
Ordinance 2025-15.
Mr. Russell,
Move for adoption of ordinance 2025-015.
second, Mr. DeArmond. Discussion? Ms. Frishy?
Rob Feitner, Law Director, is there any changes to what our previous agreement was? Is it just a regular renewal? Or is there new wording in there?
I can't recall. I can't recall if there's new wording for it. I did review that agreement, and it met with any requirements or things that I was looking for. I'm not aware of what the contents of the prior agreement was, but when I reviewed it, it seemed to fit what everybody wanted it to have in it and be done, and the legalese was all fine. I don't know what any specific changes were from any prior.
Mayor?
I'm not aware of any significant changes, and this is the program for any historical review that is done. Instead of any property having to go through the federal for their initial review, our team, by entering into this agreement, is able to do that review and then just submit a report. So it helps expedite any historical improvements that folks would want to make, or credits that they'd want to get, anything like that. So it is a standard agreement that is just a periodic renewal.
All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Niemeyer.
Aye.
Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye.
Mr. Wobser.
Aye.
Mr. Ballman.
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond.
Aye.
Ms. Frishy.
Aye.
Mr. Greeno.
Aye.
And Mr. Hellman.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Second reading for ordinance 2025-16, an ordinance amending chapters 1119 and 1141 and adding new chapter 1152 et sec to be known as the City of Findlay Cannabis Zoning Ordinance, adopting, approving, and incorporating the entire text of the aforementioned amended chapters and new chapter 1152 into the codified ordinances of the City of Findlay, Ohio, repealing section 513.15, prohibiting the sale and/or cultivation of cannabis, repealing ordinance 2024-81, and ordinance to eliminate the current 12-month moratorium established in said ordinance upon the adoption of said new cannabis zoning chapters. Second reading for ordinance 2025-17, an ordinance appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. DeArmond.
So this is for the repaving of parts of Melrose and Broad. Jeremy had a bid opening on January 26th. He's got 30 days to get an executed contract to ODOT, which is next week. So we have a 20% local match on a contract worth $1,035,000. So I would make a motion to waive our statutory rules and give this ordinance its second and third reading.
Second, Mr. Palmer. All those in favor of suspension of the rules, say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
Mr. Russell.
Aye.
Mr. Wobser.
Aye.
Mr. Ballman.
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond.
Aye.
Ms. Frishy.
Nay.
Mr. Greeno.
Aye.
Mr. Hellman.
Aye.
And Mr. Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rules of council have been suspended, and the clerk will give this ordinance its third reading.
Ordinance 2025-17.
Mr. Palmer.
Move that ordinance number 2025-017 be approved.
Second, Mr. DeArmond. Discussion. All those in favor of the ordinance, say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Russell.
Aye.
Mr. Wobser.
Aye.
Mr. Ballman.
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond.
Aye.
Ms. Frishy.
Aye.
Mr. Greeno.
Aye.
Mr. Hellman.
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer.
Aye.
And Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
Second reading for ordinance 2025-18, an ordinance appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency. Second reading for ordinance 2025-19, an ordinance supporting necessary City of Findlay, Ohio employees in efforts to preserve and enhance downtown Findlay as the heartbeat of the community, and authorizing City of Findlay administration to engage in maintenance and improvement efforts in partnership with the Downtown Findlay Improvement District. First reading for ordinance 2025-20, an ordinance appropriating funds and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Russell.
This is a simple accepting of grant money from Hancock Park District. We do this, I think, pretty much annually. Therefore, I'd move that council statutory rules be suspended and ordinance 2025-020 be given its second and third reading.
Second, Mr. Hellman. All those in favor of suspension of the rules say aye after your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer, sorry.
Aye.
Rules of council have been suspended, and the clerk will give this ordinance its second and third reading.
Ordinance 2025-20, ordinance 2025-20.
Mr. Palmer?
Move to adopt ordinance number 2025 dash, what is, 20.
Second, Mr. Baumann. Discussion? All those in favor of the ordinance say aye after your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Aye.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman? Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
And Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
First reading for ordinance 2025-21, an ordinance appropriating and transferring funds and declaring an emergency. First reading for ordinance 2025-22, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute the attached transfer agreement as it pertains to the transfer of real estate owned by the Board of Hancock County Commissioners to the city of Findlay and accepting the related deed for same, said real estate being located east of North Main Street, west of Jefferson Street, north of Clinton Court, and south of Center Street.
Mr. Wobser?
Mayor, on this, which two lots are we looking at deeding to them?
So this ordinance is related to a variety of parcels transferring from the county to us. The next ordinance is referring to the parking lots.
Okay.
On this, it's a variety of parcels that the county commissioners have acquired, kind of in the block immediately north. They don't want to own them and be responsible for them. It was their expectation, as was ours, that these would be transferred to us. So this is just making that happen.
So we don't have the agreement for our properties yet being deeded to them?
Yes, that's the next ordinance,
Oh, I'm sorry.
2025-023.
I'm ahead of myself. Let me just ask a question while we've already stopped then. The two properties that we're looking at, those are both revenue generating properties at this point. Is that correct?
Just from the, yes, there's minimal revenue that is received from leases, a couple $100 probably a month, and then obviously from parking tickets.
And I think that wasn't our parking fund already in arrears? We're already subsidizing that to a certain extent. I can't remember the number,
About
Rob. Do you?
10,000 a year.
10 to 20. And so we're going to have to make that up additional.
So we are, as had been discussed, looking at changing our parking tickets, given that they are so inexpensive. I would note that we do plan, unless the commissioners tell us otherwise, we will still patrol the parking lots to help with the public use of those, because there will, as part of the deed restrictions, that was a very specific requirement, is that public parking would still be maintained. So to be able to maintain the integrity of the public parking, it will also have to be patrolled. Additionally, obviously, we won't have any corresponding liability insurance that would go along with these properties.
Does that mean we still get to ticket on their property?
Yes.
And we get the funding?
That is not been explicitly discussed, but I would assume so, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Niemeyer?
And the parcels in 2025-022's more contaminated parcels?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, those are properties that were all residential properties. In the agreement, there is language specific to any environmental issues. And obviously, right now, because of the studies that have been done in that area and the fact that these were all residential properties, we don't anticipate any issues. Obviously, if something came up, we would work with the commissioners, but they did specifically include language. And I don't know if Law Director Feigner wants to make any statements on that, but there is language related to environmental concerns.
Mr. Russell?
Could we have maps of the parcels for both ordinances made available for council for the next meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Frishy?
When we started talking about these parcels transferring over to the city, and then we were doing some testing on properties that were ours and they were doing theirs. I thought we were waiting until the benching was complete to transfer. Why are we suddenly moving it?
These are different parcels. These are all north of Clinton Court. These are not in the benching area.
Okay.
Okay, next.
First reading for ordinance 2025-23, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute the attached deed and related transfer agreement for same as it pertains to the transfer of parcel numbers 60000924740 and 6000001008730 to the Board of Hancock County Commissioners.
Ms. Frishy.
I know we just kind of touched on it, Councilman Whoopser said something, but, you know, it might be smart for council to do a performance on the parking fund before we make the final on this ordinance. I don't know what you think, Jeff, as head of appropriation on that.
No, it's an interesting question. But our deficit on this, you know, it's somewhere between 10 and 20 grand, as I remember. Rob, do you have a?
I don't have the specific number, but it has been unsubsidized for quite a few years, and because of the wage increase this year, but I already have the patrol command staff actually doing market analysis on parking ticket structures in other communities like ours, because it's well known that we have an opportunity there. So looking at what the subsidy is, looking at our operating costs for that, seeing where we need to be with ticketing that's reasonable, and see if we can bridge that gap.
Yeah, I remember when we were going through budget, that came up, the fact that with the increase in employee wages, all of a sudden we were outspending what he was bringing in at that point. So, Rob, timeline on his study and then implementation of a new ticket list, rate.
I'm hoping
sheet.
by the end of Q1, we'll actually have good comparison, and then
Okay.
I'd come to the committee that's necessary to actually have that conversation, and we'll get that moving.
So really, if we get going by the end of Q2, mid-year, we should be able to get that going.
Hopefully, yes.
All things being equal. All right. Thank you,
Yes.
sir.
Mayor.
And our intention was going to take that to street, sidewalk, and parking.
Much better place for it.
First reading for ordinance 2025-24, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Findlay, Ohio to enter into an agreement with the Hancock County Board of Alcohol, Drug, Addiction, and Mental Health Services, ADAMS, to utilize national opioid settlement monies, appropriating funds thereto.
Mr. Russell.
Mayor, to me, this sounds like we are moving money from one fund to another, so that it's opioid settlement money, not really general fund money, so that we can utilize it as its intended purposes. Am I reading this correctly?
Correct. So the structure would be that it would most likely go into a project, and then they would invoice us and draw down.
So that the auditor can, and then the invoices, it works for the auditor and all that.
Correct. That
Okay.
was Ginger's preferred structure.
Thank you.
Ms. Frishy.
Mayor, my question on the money that we've taken in, we've kind of been building it up for a couple of years, you said, well, I guess it's gonna be a multi-question. So is the county, did they do the same thing we did and get money from the state and go into those suits? And are they giving money additionally to ADAMS? And then the second part of the question is, what all were our options to use that funding within our budget instead of giving it out to a nonprofit, such as the unhoused that we send officers? Yeah, we talked about that when we talked about the post office thing. Wouldn't that count?
Mayor.
So there are, I think, 3 or 4 primary categories. I think it's 3. It's a prevention, treatment, and response, kind of prior, current, future. The issue with utilizing it for our officers is we then have to track very specific how it ties to drug utilization. So the paperwork side of accounting for our staff as we discussed it with the officers. We did hold back about $50,000 in our current, that if we want to offset Officer White's time as he goes into schools, we still have that option. But the officers, we talked with police and fire, Rob, we all kind of sat down and discussed, and we felt it was better utilized continuing to support these programs within the schools. My understanding is that the county did also join the lawsuit and is receiving their own funding. My understanding through Prussia is that yes, they were also working with the county to get some support for programs, but I don't think it's directly to this program.
Mr. Russell.
Move the council statutory rules be suspended and ordinance 2025-024 be given its second and third reading.
Second, Mr. Niemeyer. All those in favor of suspension of the rules, say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Just a second. Okay. Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
Ms. Frishy?
Nay. Nay.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman? Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
And Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
Rules of council been suspended, and the clerk will give this ordinance its second and third reading.
Ordinance 2025-24, ordinance 2025-24.
Mr. Russell.
Move for adoption of ordinance 2025-024.
Second, Mr. Greeno. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the ordinance say aye if your name is called. Those opposed, nay.
Ms. Frishy?
Nay.
Mr. Greeno?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman? Mr. Niemeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
Mr. Russell?
Aye.
Mr. Wobser?
Aye.
Mr. Ballman?
Aye.
And Mr. DeArmond?
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted.
First reading for ordinance 2025-25, an ordinance memorializing the expenditure of public funds in fiscal year 2025 for approved public purposes as set forth herein.
Mr. Russell.
Law Director Rob, I do appreciate the email or letter that you sent explaining kind of the background of this. I, for one, am all in favor of being good neighbors and working collaboratively, be it with Liberty Township, the Findlay City Schools, whomever, to provide public service on behalf of Findlay and Hancock County. I therefore make a motion that council statutory rules be suspended and this ordinance be given its second and third reading.
Mr. Feigen.
Yeah. There is no emergency language on this. There's no immediate importance for it, so there's no emergency language, so it's going to go 3 readings, no matter.
So, Mr. Russell.
Withdraw the motion.
Thank you. Old business. Mr. Wobser.
We had earlier talked about an appropriations committee to get to our capital budget. Jeremy did get an email to me earlier today with a date on it. It was a date that I couldn't make, so we're in the process of trying to get that date put together. So for everybody on the appropriations committee, watch your email over that. Hopefully by the end of the week we'll get a date pulled together. We can do that. We can then, depending on the time frame, Mr. DeArmament will look at adding that discussion in.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to congratulate Rob Feitner for becoming our law director. I know that became official yesterday, so congratulations to you.
All right.
Other new business. Mr. Wobser.
I would like to take the opportunity. I guess it was interesting. We had the football team here. Congratulate 3 young ladies who are on their way to represent Findlay, Ohio, and at the high school state swimming and diving championships in Canton, Ohio this coming week. Claire Kemery and Tilly Abbott, both from Findlay High School, will be swimming on Friday and Saturday. And Ava Bushline from Van Buren, who is also a swimmer, is going to head over and swim on Thursday morning and represent Findlay. She lives actually inside the city limits, but goes to school at Van Buren, unfortunately. So we do. We do. People forget that. Yes. Love her to death. But want to congratulate those ladies. They're representing our city and will do well over there.
Other new business. Mr. Baumann.
I just want to take a second. The work that Dave Hans and his team have done over the past week, They have done nothing but short of moving mountains, and they deserve all the credit for making sure that our streets are clear and passable and safe. So just want to give them that shout out.
Here, here.
Mayor?
Well, that's what I literally had congratulate law director and then public works and sewer maintenance. So it definitely takes a lot of work. We were talking to Dave earlier today. I think folks are pretty tired. They've worked 14 straight days where they've been in and out at some point, and on Sunday, I think they worked 13 straight hours, keeping the roads clear and salting and managing the storms. So, don't be surprised when you see some overtime expense. But they did a great work, and certainly our sewer maintenance team also was out helping, being able to drive those trucks, doing great work. And I know some of the students were not so happy this morning when Findlay City Schools was still going to school and the county schools were, but sorry, not sorry. So, no, certainly appreciate the team and they'll certainly keep up the good work. And the airport staff was out, so our team has been hard at work keeping things open. So I think those were the only items.
Any other new business? So at this time, I will call Lynette Snyder up. And Lynette understands the speaker. She is here to speak about dangerous dogs that are running at large. She does have some photos she'd like to hand out first. And then once she's done that, then we'll start. Oh. I don't need one. Did everybody get one? All right, ready when you are.
Hi, I am Lynette Snyder. I am here.
Yeah, push the.
Hi, I'm Lynette Snyder. I'm here to ask you to help implement a more comprehensive animals at large vicious dog ordinance. As of this date, a dog will only be deemed vicious if it attacks a human or another dog.
Hold on a second.
Let's try again.
Start over? Okay. Okay, I'm Lynette Snyder, and I am here to ask you to help implement a more comprehensive animal at large vicious dog ordinance. As of this date, a dog will only be deemed vicious if it attacks a human or another dog. I take issue with that. Let me show you pictures of what happens when a dog that is running loose in Emory Adams Park attacked my horse starting in the pastures of Bell Stables on 6th Street. The attack continued through 3 fences and into a barn where Chip became wedged in a small storage area with the dog still attacking. The first picture depicts my horse prior to the attack, and that was taken this summer. The second picture is his genitals, which was the dog's first point of attack. The dog actually bit off part of Chip's penis. The third picture shows injuries Chip sustained to his shoulder area after Chip collapsed, and the dog started to chew in that area. The fourth picture shows an injury of Chip's leg that he sustained when he was running through the electric fence. The last picture is the dog. My horse was mortally wounded. Many people that work in the veterinary profession and even law enforcement felt the dog was a danger to others and should be put down. But because the dog attacking a horse, which is considered livestock, does not meet that criteria in the ordinance. The owner of the dog did not have to surrender it. She was given a citation and had to post bond in the amount of $195. She did not even appear in court. Unfortunately, I and others fully believe that this dog will be doing it again. Now I know that changing the ordinance won't bring my horse back, but it will hold dog owners more responsible for what their dogs do, even if it is the first time. Or perhaps the city should consider installing a chain link fence between the soccer fields and Bell Stables property. I keep thinking back to the event and thinking that if that was a small child, even Mrs. Bell, or my mother, who always walks her dog, on a leash, what if that was them that dog attacked? That dog attacked an 1,100-pound horse, and he weighs what, 40 or 50 pounds? And he killed that horse. And he's still out there walking around as far as I know. Any questions or anything?
Ms. Frischie.
Rob, is there something that we as council can do ordinance-wise? I never, I guess, realized. I figured if a dog were attacked, a cat were attacked, a child, we were covering all bases. Is there something that we can work on with Mrs. Snyder to maybe get something in place so she has at least some kind of justice for the loss of her horse, for sure? But that's a high area of children.
Right, that's what I mean.
I mean,
Because the way that dog did this attack wasn't the typical. We've had dogs over there chasing horses in the pastures before from Emory Adams. There's a lot of loose dogs walking around. And the typical attack of a dog is to chase and bite at their
Hurt it.
heels and stuff. The horse will kick at them and will run, and normally that chases those dogs away. This dog, as I said, his first attack was to go for a kill. He wasn't chasing him or anything. That dog actually bit and hung on while that horse ran through 3 fences and ran into the barn. I heard the horse coming to the barn, and I didn't even know that dog was attached until I got to the horse and was trying to calm him down.
Rob?
Yeah, I'm sorry for your horse. I'm aware of the report. And I also, the report indicates that this horse was 32 years old. So he's been around for quite some time. Is that correct?
He's been mine since conception.
It is surprising until you read some of these laws, how the penalties are not what we would think that they would be, or that it includes stiffer penalties if a dog attacks another dog or a human, but doesn't address what the difference is if it attacks a horse or a cat or whatever it may be. Dana Barger, the dog warden, did file a charge in this case as best he could under Ohio Revised Code provision. And as you know, Lynette, I'm sure it's a $25 fine, $100 up to the judge to make that determination, or they can post bond as they did here. The Ohio Revised Code does provide the ability for a municipality to adopt and enforce its own ordinances to control dogs that aren't otherwise in conflict with the Ohio Revised Code. And we do have city ordinances that do mirror the Ohio Revised Code, which is often the case of how they're written. Ours have a little bit more penalty to it, but it requires that there be additional offenses, and we don't want there to be additional offenses. When I looked at this report, I think it also reads that the dog broke a lead, so even the owner was trying, and that's what makes me nervous about dogs.
That's what was said.
Yeah.
That dog wasn't even on a lead.
Okay.
We searched the pastures, and also there was a fresh snow that day, and we walked walked where that dog came from over at Emory Adams to the pastures. He actually was in 3 different pastures, and we searched for that lead. There was no trail of a lead, nor was the lead found, nor was there a lead on that dog when it came into the barn. I said that after I said a few other words to the owner. There was no lead even on that dog. And she says, well, it must have broke off.
Well,
Yeah.
and my concern and the point I want to make is that even a dog owner can do their best, and these things can happen. And we need people to know that if there's stiffer penalties and they've got a dog that's this size, this aggressive, that maybe it shouldn't even be on a walk in an area where there's people, kids, activity, and so forth. What I would entertain to you, Lynette, is, these were last, the higher revised code sections were last updated in 2012 and thereabouts, and I think the way dogs are looked at today is a little different. I don't know what kind of schedule you have, but I can talk with you afterwards about maybe sitting down with you and talking about what you'd like to see, and then maybe come up with a way to propose something to council, because the city of Findlay does have the ability to write different ordinances than what the state code does. We don't have control over the higher revised code, but we have control over our own. So that might be one way to start and see what might be best. And if we do come up with something, maybe the newspaper can help us get something out there that says, hey, if you're a dog owner, it's springtime, here's your responsibilities and here's what the penalties are. So let's talk afterwards real quick.
Okay. And, it doesn't even matter that the horse was 32 years old. Okay? I gave you all a picture of what that horse looked like this summer. He doesn't look like a 32-year-old horse. He was my kid, and he was very, very well taken care of. When the vet finally got there, and he had to come in from Kenton because there's no vets around here that do emergency calls. So this veterinary came in from Kenton, never worked on this horse before. God bless him, he was an awesome guy. And he thanked me for calling him because he has never seen a horse look this bad. Those pictures make it look good compared to what it really was.
Just real quick, Lynette did warn me and asked me whether those pictures should be handed out or not, and I felt it was appropriate. There was no children in them, but just FYI on that. Mr. Baumann.
I guess I would just ask, because I think this is an important topic, if maybe the law director would be interested in sharing with council the details of the subsequent meeting with the citizen, just so we can kind of see what's going on.
Well, absolutely.
Okay. Ms. Frischie.
I'm just curious. I thought we had a rule in the city. It looks to be a pit bull type of dog or a mix, that there's a muzzling. Are they requiring this dog to be muzzled, or was there anything because of being in the area where it lived?
He did stay in the veterinary clinic. I don't know if it was 9 or 11 days, and that's the rabies law, which surprised me because I've talked to several veterinaries since then. Because they only have to stay in typically if they bite a human. But because of the extent of this, his saliva, any of us could have gotten that on us, which then does the transferring, I guess, of the rabies and stuff. So the dog was kept at a veterinary clinic and then released.
Mr. Russell.
Mr. Snyder, I'm very sorry for your loss. One thing that Rob said that kind of spurred something in my mind is that if you'd like to have this discussion with State Representative Ty Matthews, I'd be happy to arrange that and bring the pictures, and because potentially a change to ORC, Ohio Revised Code, is in order. Rob, just to follow up so that I understand, you believe that we do have the ability from Ohio Revised Code to further modify our ordinances in this area, and if that is the case, then I would ask that you construct some options and bring that either to full council or if we'd want to send it through a committee, committee, I would think you're almost like at a planning and zoning would probably be the most appropriate of the 4 standing committees. But I'd like to see legislation for us to consider in this case, because I think there is definitely a hole in ORC.
Mr. Baumann?
I guess I would just say that I concur with Mr. Russell. I think that this needs to move forward in any way we can. We need to make adjustments.
Lynette, sorry about your loss. You're brave to come here and speak in
Chip
front.
is his barn name. He was a show horse. He was bred to
Yeah.
be and was showing and
Yep. You were brave to be here.
I was gonna
Ms.
add the
Falmouth.
same-
yeah.
I was going to add the same thing. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. I mean, I didn't know about this. I don't know that
No, a
anybody
lot of
else did
people
here.
didn't know about it.
But thank you for bringing it to our attention, and I hope that council is able to do something to tighten up the ordinance that, you know,
That-
reviews these kinds of things.
My
So thank you.
belief is that dog is definitely going to attack something else.
Hopefully not. All right, that concludes this evening's meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Russell, second Mr. Baumann. All those in favor say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, nay. We are adjourned.